And some of them are quite new. So many of you might be thinking, I'm fine, I'm completely on track. But as with any journey, when it comes to exercising consistently, eating nutritiously, there will be moments where that's not the case. So this should be useful to everybody. So here's what we're going to dive into. We're going to talk about the decision fatigue and how that affects your daily decision making and can sabotage your nutrition and exercise routine. The sleep sabotage cycle, why and how we unconsciously undermine our own like rest and recovery. This is a big one that I see quite a lot, and something definitely that I used to do as well. And then how to build unshakable habits. So learning, how to create the systems that work when you're exhausted, because that's what we really need to be able to do, to be able to thrive when we feel like we're surviving. Because the minute something like that happens and throws us off course, it can, particularly when we're in midlife, be cause an issue for like a year, and then that when you're older is a big deal. So if you can build the processes that support you so that you don't have to rely on willpower, that is absolutely key. And then we're going to talk about the 5 simple steps that will really help restore your focus and make you feel energized so you don't suffer from that overwhelm and decision fatigue that leads to kind of poor behavior. So when we're talking about decision fatigue, this is a really interesting stat from research that shows that on average, the daily person, on average, person makes 35,000 decisions a day, which is absolutely crazy. We're talking about everything from the minute we wake up, what we're going to wear, what makeup we're going to wear or not, what we do at work, how we respond to our kids, our parents, all of that kind of stuff. So it's no wonder that sometimes by the evening we can be completely drained. I don't know whether any of you have felt like this, but I've certainly in my time when I've been really overworked and have had stuff going on in my personal life where I've literally got to the stage where I cannot make a decision, or I make really bad decisions because I'm so knackered that I just make the wrong decisions. So every little decision we make chips away at our mental energy and like leaves you feeling really depleted. So rather than thinking, oh, I'm useless, I can't resist the wine, chocolate, the crisps, whatever it might be, I haven't hit my workout, rather than thinking, oh, I'm just useless, I just haven't got the willpower, it's really about creating that process, that the decision fatigue that you can often feel doesn't throw you off balance. So this is something that I see often, this revenge bedtime procrastination, which comes from when you're really fatigued from making lots of decisions. So how many of you have done this thing where you're like, I'm fed up, I've worked really hard today, I've like looked after the kids, the parents, and whatever it might be, I'm finally going to get time to myself. And I'm going to like stay up late because I'm going to try and get some like me time, and all you end up doing is exhausting yourself even more. You sit there and you scroll through your phone for ages, or you flick between Netflix and watch like episode after episode of something in an attempt to kind of reclaim control over your time, feeling like you're giving yourself something, you're treating yourself, when in actual fact you're just undermining yourself even more. It backfires obviously when you wake up and you're absolutely drained and you're back on that cycle yet again of not only having to make more decisions, but making them when you're also really tired. So setting yourself up the night before will help bypass that emotion and create a process that protects your sleep and energy, regardless of how the day went. So it's really about creating a space in the processes so that, recognizing that we will have decision fatigue is going to happen, and what can we put in place to prevent that affecting us. So if you can work on those evening decisions, will create a better tomorrow, basically. Systems trump willpower, so automatic routines, which are really hard at first. They're like, a lot of this stuff is boring, but you just have to do it until the boring just becomes second nature. You just don't think about it. And it's consistency that builds success. So you might think, well, I don't need to focus on the evening, but those evening habits will impact your next day. And those little simple processes will have an amazing effect on you, enabling you to eat nutritiously and get your workouts done. Yes, because when your energy reserves are depleted, we all know what happens. We normally default to the path of least resistance. And I like this quote, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you get those habits right, repeat them over and over again, and it often happens that you can be successfully losing your weight, hitting your goals, and then something will happen. Sometimes it's a bank holiday, where literally just a 3-day bank holiday straight after an Easter weekend can mean that actually you've just forgotten your habits and your processes again, and it's really easy to completely forget them, and it's about getting back to it. So number one, in terms of processes, and some of these might seem really obvious, but it's just really important to set these in place. For some of you, these might seem like a repeat because I've touched on this in a previous presentation, but it's about choosing a bedtime. I can't stress how important it is to remember to choose a bedtime and not to rebel against yourself and self-sabotage and just stay up later and later because you feel like you deserve that me time, because it's not me time, it's time where you're just sabotaging better quality time for yourself. So I suggest you calculate your ideal bedtime. So if you like 8 hours of sleep, calculate back from back from when you need to get into bed in order to have that 8 hours sleep. And actually, if you want 8 hours sleep, you really need to work backwards. You need to think about 9 hours sleep, 9 hours, because you'll spend at least an hour preparing for bed. So if you only based it on 8 hours, you'll probably get 7 by the time you're actually ready for bed. Set an alarm 30 minutes before your actual bedtime, 30 minutes or an hour. So there's no more of that. And I'm a terrible one for this. So I do set an alarm on my Alexa to go off to tell me to go to bed, because otherwise I'll go, oh, it's just one more episode of The Last of Us or something. So set your alarm and absolutely stick to it. So just the same as you would never, if you have still got younger kids, or in your time when you had young kids, you'd never let them stay up late. You'd pick a time and get them to bed by that time. So why should it be different for you? And really build the habit. Consistency will train your body's natural rhythm to help you to get better sleep. Obviously, perimenopause, menopause affects our sleep patterns, but there's no reason to let it affect our habits. Keep up the habits, and that will have an effect. And then clean up the clutter. So we're not talking about going into full on cleanup mode where you're suddenly doing the ironing that you haven't done, or sorting out your accounts that you haven't done. I don't mean that. So don't give yourself another huge job. It's really about just a 5-minute thing. What can you do in 5 minutes to make sure those things are done that will really affect you in the morning? If you wake up and you've left like some clutter in the kitchen, just get that out of the way. If you typically do that thing where you like get out of your clothes and like literally drop them on the floor, put them on a seat in your bedroom, and that affects you when you wake up, just put them out of sight. Research shows that physical clutter directly increases your stress hormone, that fight or flight. So waking up in the morning to a clean bedroom in terms of no clutter, the kitchen being clean and not having like odd plates around, is really important. Yeah, as I say here, permission to cheat, like literally toss it in a basket and shove it in the cupboard if that's if that's a better way of doing it. It means you won't go into overdrive cleaning up. Yeah. So that's number two. And then prep for the morning. Again, you've probably heard this a million and one times before. You've probably done it religiously, maybe for a week and then fallen out of it. Honestly, it makes such a difference if you're prepped for the morning. I have this Monday, which is really hard sometimes. If I don't sort it out, it never happens, and I really regret it. Like I have a really early work call at like 6:30 in the morning, and then I like to go swimming. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'll sort my swimming outfit out in the morning. It means I don't go. So honestly, set those things that you want to do that you know you'll be really annoyed at yourself if you don't do it. For instance, the workouts, if you've got a busy work day, then it's really easy to be like, oh, any excuse that your brain can latch onto, it will latch onto it and it will affect your routine. So get your outfit decision sorted out, whether it's for your work, your workout, whatever it is, get it out so you know where it is. If you're rushing off somewhere, make sure you know what your breakfast is. If it's something that you can prepare. We've talked in the past about these protein coffee that you can have already mixed up in your fridge, or your chia pudding or overnight oats, all of that. Just get that sorted so it's done. Get your bag sorted. And then another thing, if it is something to do with work, or it's something to do with helping you to stay nutritious, your kind of top three tasks that you've got to do straight away. So if your tasks are, for instance, literally, it could be if you suffer from like not eating correctly during the day, your top three tasks could be written down. It could be eat your breakfast at such time, eat your lunch at such time, and making sure that you actually do that. Having your protein shake with you at between 2 and 4, whatever it is, like focus on the things that you typically fall down upon. Like I was talking to one of the clients in the Kickass Midlife Method community, and at the moment, all she's doing is writing her processes down and sending those to me rather than tracking her food, because for her it's the processes that are falling down. And so writing down the processes every morning, like typically she was saying that she has a real problem going in and sitting down at her desk in the morning and procrastinating because she doesn't want to do something, and then she'll get up and go and have a coffee and a biscuit. And so it's really about writing those processes down so she can be aware of where those moments are that are causing an issue. So writing down your top three tasks is like number three. And then number four, give yourself 5 minutes. So this is not about being productive, it's about that kind of parasympathetic nervous system stuff, kind of getting out of that fight and flight response that we have. A lot of us are being driven by during the day. Um, so it could be something really simple like having a mint tea, lighting a candle, a few pages of book, meditation, having a bath. Normally, just that 5 minutes will then might lead into a longer time. But sometimes even things that we really want to do, like reading a book or going in the bath, will be like, oh no, I'll watch the TV instead. Just say, I'm going to do it for 5 minutes, and then you slowly start enjoying what it is that you're doing. And then that kind of parasympathetic reset can be much more rewarding and take a little bit more time. Uh, and then number five, and I've spoken about this a lot in previous presentations, it's really about putting your phone away. So if any of you are still using your phone as an alarm or charging it in your bedroom, you really need to stop that straight away, because it's just too tempting to scroll in bed when you've got your phone there. So get yourself an alarm clock. Don't use your phone. You're going to get better sleep quality. It will definitely soften or take away that mental chatter that comes from often still scrolling through your phone, literally as you're trying to go to bed. And having that physical distance from it outside your bedroom means you're much less likely to pick it up, because you've got to get out of bed and go out to pick up your phone. So it's really important to get that that phone out of the way. So you're not kind of stressing about the next day stuff. You're getting a really good sleep so that when you're waking up the next morning, you're not really wired and tired already. So yeah, same thing. As I said before, would you let like a 10-year-old fall asleep with a phone in bed? You really wouldn't, because you know how bad that is. So why are most adults still doing that? So stop 5 steps away from feeling in control. We're talking about nighttime routines, but if you get those nighttime routines, it has a massive impact on your ability to feel energized and ready to be able to maintain your nutritious habits, your workouts, your feeling of being in control, that self-control and sense of empowerment that comes from that. So establishing a non-negotiable bedtime, uh, really think about how many hours of sleep you want. If you want 8 hours, and work backwards from your wake up time. So if you've got to get up at 6, work backwards from 8. I can't figure out what that is, but even if it's 9 o'clock, go to bed at 9 o'clock. Create a tidy environment. Just takes 5 minutes to get rid of, shove some things in a wardrobe out of the way. So you're reducing those stress triggers. Prepare for flow in the morning rather than friction. There's nothing worse than waking up in the morning and you can't find something. I, for instance, have just finally, it's been sitting there for a year, put up a key, I can't think of the word, key hook for my keys, because I was constantly getting up in the morning, chasing around and swearing because I couldn't find my keys. And that simple thing has just made my morning so much more relaxing. Practice your wind down ritual, whatever that is, 5 minutes, give yourself 5 minutes. Definitely something without screens, and definitely something that's not about productivity. What often happens, I hear from women, is they'll think, I'll do that last bit of sorting out in bed. And suddenly you're in bed with your iPad or your laptop, booking your holiday that you meant to do, or paying that bill that you meant to do, and you've set that time as your time. That is not your time to sort those things out. That is a separate kind of lifestyle work. It's not something you should be doing in bed. Yeah, and then, as I say, remove digital distractions. So definitely get your phone outside the bedroom and put the do not disturb mode on. So I have my do not disturb mode on, coming on, I think, from 9 o'clock in the evening till 6 o'clock, so I don't get anything pinging at me, because so I'm not tempted to look. So no matter how chaotic your life and work might be, you really control how your day ends. So let it be clear, and make sure that you just keep those processes up. It will slip now and again, and it's really important to remind yourself, maybe write it down somewhere, those 5 steps. And when life starts feeling a little bit like out of control again, and you get really wired and tired, and you find yourself flicking through Netflix at night, read it back again and reinstate those processes, because they are key, the processes to maintaining healthy nutrition and exercise, rather than having to rely on willpower. So start tonight. So pick your bedtime, calculate your ideal sleep window, set an alarm to remind you when it's time to start winding down. So again, as I said before, set yourself give yourself an extra half an hour before you want to go to sleep, and get into bed with that extra half an hour so you have time to unwind. Tidy one thing away, prep one morning item, so whatever it is, and then select your ritual. Decide on that 5-minute wind down activity, and why you need it. Thanks for listening to the Kickass Midlife Method podcast. If you found this useful, give me a follow, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with your friends.